Hi, my name is Cynthia Andrews. Welcome to this Tableau training on performing sentiment analysis in Tableau. Today we are going to learn how to pull tweets from individual accounts in order to visualize how various media outlets are portraying the presidential candidates this year. Then we are going to take their tweets and clean them using a data science application called RapidMiner. And then we're going to take that data and create the sheets and subsequent dashboard that will visualize the sentiment. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to use this really great online application called If This Then That, to get our tweets. So first we're going to click on this. We are going to look for the Twitter operator. And then we are going to say new tweet by specific user. So I did 6 media organizations, one of which was Fox News. So we'll go ahead and say that's one of the usernames we want to watch. Hit Create Trigger. And then what would we like the program to do after Fox tweets? Well, since we want data, we're going to go with using Google Drive to add a new row to a spreadsheet. So now every time Fox News tweets, we will get a new row with their username, the text of that tweet, a link to that tweet, and when it was created. And we'll put that in a folder called Media Analysis. This folder doesn't need to exist already, and neither does this spreadsheet. The first time that this recipe fires, If will create those for you. So we'll hit Create Action, change the name of the recipe so we can keep track, and hit Create Recipe. And then you would duplicate this for each of the other organizations, which I did for ABC, CBS, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and NBC News. So each one of these spreadsheets has a large number of tweets from each of those organizations. As you can see, there's their username, there's the text, there's the link, and there's the creation date. So now that we have all of this, what we would want to do is go ahead and pull all of these onto our local drive and merge them together into one sheet, into our master data, which is here. So as you can see, I have all of the tweets in here from all of the various media organizations and their times of creation and the links. And I've duplicated the text column and added one called O-text. And that's so that consistently we keep the original text from our tweets, no matter what. So now that we have our master data, what we're actually going to do is we're going to create a sample. And we're going to do that using RapidMiner. So we're going to go into RapidMiner and we're going to open this process called Get Sample. I've already added the data here using the Add Data button and then pulled it from my local directory, which is here. So I've gone ahead and pulled that in, and I've pulled the tweets over here onto our work area, and then I've added this operator called Generate ID. And this is going to give each row an individual ID number. Then I've asked RapidMiner to create a sample of our data for us, not just a sample that's representative of the greater data set. And that's what a stratified sample does. It says, hey, I would like a sample that is representative of the entire corpus of tweets. And then we're going to write that to Excel. And then you just click that folder and you can type in your file name. Again, that doesn't need to exist. I don't know it does here, but if I were to use a different file name, it would create that file for me. And then we would hit run and we would get a sample of our data that is representative of each of the users that have contributed and the dates. And then what we're actually going to do is we're going to manually code this sample. And the reason we're going to do that is because we want to have a lot of control over what positive, negative, and neutral mean. So rather than just using an out-of-the-box tool, which do exist and for less complex text definitely work, we're going to go through and code this sample manually and say this is what positive means, this is what negative means, and this is what neutral means. And some examples of the tweets that I used for this were positive, we need a better future for this country and Donald Trump is going to give us that, and I think Clinton would make a darn good president. For neutral, father of Orlando nightclub shooter attends Hillary Clinton campaign rally in Florida. Anti-Trump candidate Evan McMullin comes out swinging. Ex-Congressman Mark Foley sat behind Donald Trump in rally in Florida. And here's a list of Republicans who oppose Donald Trump so far. There are 50. So, and Donald Trump, President Obama founded ISIS. On the flip side, the negative versions of these would be Donald Trump's quote-unquote sarcasm on Obama being ISIS founder is just the latest of his flip-flops. So that is a direct, that negativity is directly associated with Donald Trump, whereas this was, a lot more neutral. And then in contrast to this tweet, as Clinton offers Orlando massacre tribute, killer's dad haunts audience. So the language used here is being used in a way that portrays Hillary Clinton as someone that associates, with this individual. And for the Evan McMullin parallel, Evan McMullin, Donald Trump is an authoritarian and inhuman. This organization could have used something more neutral like this, but they chose to, use these words that definitely paint him in a negative light. Similarly, with the congressman, the ex-congressman mentioned here, disgraced congressman leads you to associate disgrace with Donald Trump. Additionally, 50 former national security officials say Donald Trump is not qualified to be president, rather than saying, here is a list of, who opposes him so far. So that's our schema. And so now that we have coded the data, we are going to go ahead and create the model. Oh, actually, first we are going to go through and clean our data. So we're going to go back into RapidMiner. And we're going to go into this process called split, clean, and structure all the data. We're going to open that. I know this looks like a lot, but it's really not that much, I promise. And what we're going to do is we are going to get our media tweets again. We're going to use this operator to translate our nominal values to text. And then we're going to split the data up so that we can process it a lot faster. One of the parameters with this is that we have to add these partition numbers. So these all have to add up to 100%. And so because I wanted this to go very, very quickly, I brought down the ratios and added more partitions. But if you had 4 at 0.25, that would work. Then, after they're partitioned, each of those subsets is going to go in to be processed. We're going to tokenize, which means identify all of the linguistic words in our set and turn them into individual items or tokens. Then we're going to filter out the links, the URLs that are contained by using filter tokens by content and saying any tokens that contain HTTPS //t.co/ and AMP to get rid of ampersands. Then we are going to tokenize all non-letters. And the reason we waited to do this is because these URLs contain non-letters. So if we were to remove all non-letters earlier, it would be more difficult to remove the links. Then we're going to filter those by length. So any words that are shorter than 3 characters will be excluded. So that removes our ifs, ats, and words like that that aren't really very valuable. Then we're going to transform everything into lowercase. Once that's done, we're going to go ahead and do nominal to text again, and we're going to go ahead and union all of those different partitions and write it to Excel. And we're going to go ahead and put that in here as clean tweets output. And then we're just going to go ahead and run that. Now, in the interest of time, I'm not going to run the whole thing. We've already done that ahead of time. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. We'll just go ahead and open that up. And here we can see we have our username, our original text, our link, when it was created, and we have the clean text. So you can see the difference between the original text and the clean text. Now that we have our clean data, we are going to go ahead and train our model. And I should also mention that you'll need to do this process for the training data as well, since that's what it's going to learn on. So to do that, you would simply go ahead and open this, this process called clean and structure all the data, and replace that with your training data. And then that way you can get that cleaned as well. And it's just going through the exact same process, just without splitting it off because it's much smaller, so that's not necessary. So now that we have our clean training data and our clean main data, what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and run the sentiment analysis. So we're going to go ahead and open up that process. And I know this looks like a lot, but again, these are just a lot of duplicates in order to process the documents faster. So first, we're going to create a model. So we're going to say, take our training data, which I've already pulled in, our clean training data, and generate some attributes. So what these are going to do are these are going to help us identify the subject of each tweet. So this operator says, if you find the text Clinton or the text Hillary Clinton, then add a label to a new column that says Clinton. Similarly for Trump, if it finds the text Trump, or, that's what these two vertical lines are, they're the or, Donald Trump, then add the label Trump. And then same for both. If it finds Clinton or Hillary Clinton and Trump or Donald Trump, then it will add the both label. Additionally, I created a label for their Twitter handle mentions because in looking around, I noticed that the sentiment analysis process had a little bit more difficulty assigning sentiment to these tweets. So I wanted to label them so I could go back and double check the accuracy of the assigned sentiment there. So now that we have generated those attributes, we're going to again do nominal to text, and that's selecting single and just the text field. I forgot to mention that earlier, apologies. So we'll go ahead and select the text. That's the only one we need to translate. We're going to process the documents from data again just because this operator is necessary in order to move forward. So even though it's already in lowercase, we're just going to do that again. Then we're going to say to RapidMiner, we have this column called polarity in our training set, right? And that column is a label. And so that's basically saying this is the label that we want to use when our model is applied. So then we're going to go ahead and take care of the model. We're going to use this very common classification model that is great for a basic sentiment analysis. We're going to apply that model, and then we're going to evaluate its performance. So once that's occurred, what we're going to do is down here, we're going to link in our master data. We're going to generate those same attributes, translate nominal to text, and then we're going to split the data like we did earlier when we cleaned it, but this time we are going to be applying the model. We're going to do this transform cases documents process again because we have to. And then we're going to use this multiplier to pull the model into each one of these operators so that the model is being applied to each of these subsets, again, just in order to make this go faster. Then we're going to union all of these, and then we're going to write that data set to Excel, again, using that same process that is media tweets sentiment. We're going to say, okay, that's where we want to save them. And then we would go ahead and run that model, and which I think we might actually be able to do. Look at how quickly that went. So now we have an entire set of 7,000 tweets with assigned sentiment, and that was so fast. So now that we have that data, I would recommend that you go through and kind of do spot checks and look at tweets that are negative, that are labeled negative, and say, is this really negative? And if not, add that tweet to your training set, code it correctly, and then rerun your process again. And just do that until you feel comfortable. And a way to make that attrition be a little bit easier is if when you're coding, you have a couple of other people that can also code the same set, then you can compare why you labeled something as positive, negative, and neutral, and have a tighter schema to work from. So now that we have our model, or our data, there is one more thing that we need to do, and that is to consolidate these labels. So basically what we do there is in Excel, I go ahead and filter. Oh, that's not it. Filter through them and just add a new column that has individual letters as the markers. So we'll go ahead and open that, and oh, whoops, it's this one I want. Master or media tweet sentiment. That is the one that we just created. And so you can see here we have Clinton and Trump both mentioned. And so what I do is I just add another column here, and then I go ahead and filter through those and say, only show me when Clinton is true and both is false. And then so we can see all of these are about Clinton. And again, this is something I also recommend you spot check as many times as you feel comfortable or as you need to. And we're going to name this candidate. And just do that for each one of the items. And then again, those mentioned ones are just so that I can go back and double check that the assigned sentiment is correct. So now that we have that, we are going to go ahead and create our dashboard. So we've gone ahead and opened up Tableau, and we're going to start off by looking at some high-level information. So to start off, we're going to go ahead and pull candidate onto color so that we can easily distinguish the three. Then we're going to pull some number of records onto the size operator so that we can see how many tweets total there are about each candidate. And to make it a little bit more clear, we're going to then add those numbers on in text. So we can see that Donald Trump, there were 3,651 tweets total about Donald Trump, 1,801 about Hillary Clinton, and 1,587 about both of them together. So this gives us an idea of the distribution of mentions per candidate. Then we're going to go down to a slightly more granular level and look at this distribution by media outlet. So we're going to go ahead and drag username onto column. Since I know that I'm going to have a horizontal layout, I went with this. If you wanted to do something vertical, you would be able to do that. And so then we're going to go ahead and add the sum percent candidate onto each one of onto the size. So then basically what that is it's a calculated field I created that says take all of the tweets about this candidate from this media organization and divide it by the total tweets by that media organization. And both of those are also calculated fields. So we have the total tweets per organization, which I'm saying when the username is present, fix the sum number of records at that level. So that keeps all of the tweets by that org in one number so that it's not affected. And similarly, the tweets per candidate says fix the candidate and how many tweets there were about them. So we're going to go ahead and pull that onto size. Then we're going to pull candidate onto color. Ooh. And I've also edited the tooltips to add some more relevant information in, putting some percent candidate here so that it says this percentage of this username mentioned this candidate. So as we can see, we have 55.6% of CNN's tweets mentioned Trump, 23.6% mentioned Clinton, and 20.9% mentioned both. And so this gives us a slightly more granular breakdown of the distribution we saw in our last chart over here. So now we're going to go ahead and look at mentions per candidate over time. I've gone ahead and dragged some number of records onto the row here. Then I've added day, time onto the column header here. And then I've added username to the detail here and candidate to color. Now I know this looks like a bowl of spaghetti right now, but later when we give the user the tools to further investigate, being able to see this in context is going to be really helpful. Additionally, I've added a few labels. I went in and looked at these moments and found out what was happening at the time. Donald Trump met the president of Mexico here. Trump and Hannity held a town hall there, and Clinton held a town hall in Michigan there. Additionally, I edited this tooltip to say something a little bit more representative than just keeping the regular things on there that are usually there. So on August 31st, 2016, Fox News mentioned Trump's name 88 times. And that way people can go in and see exactly how many mentions there were. Now that we have those high-level items, we're going to go ahead and take care of the sentiment. And so we're going to go ahead and drop candidate onto color, and then we're going to drop some percent positive onto size, so we're going to go ahead and drag username onto the row, some percent neutral, which is another calculated field I created that says take the number of records you see here and divide it by the total tweets from that organization about a specific candidate. So on this level, it's going to say whatever the breakdown is, divide that by this fixed number of tweets that this user has made about the candidate. Then I have a similar one for percent positive and for percent negative. I've also gone ahead and reversed the axis here in order to have them go into the negative to make things a little bit more clear. So then I've added candidate onto color as well as some tooltip information. And then for some percent negative only, I've added some percent negative onto the size operator. For some percent positive, I've added some percent positive onto the size. And for some percent neutral, I've added some percent neutral onto size. Additionally, I've added some labels to help explain what people are seeing on impact. So here, 6.2% of Fox News's 861 tweets about Clinton have had a negative connotation, whereas 9.4% of their 1,309 tweets about Trump have had a positive connotation. And so now that we have all of our sheets, we are going to go ahead and create our dashboard using our total distribution, our account distribution, our distribution over time, and our sentiment distribution. So we have this wonderful dashboard. I created these images using Photoshop, using simple photo layers, added some additional context, and then dragged and dropped each of these sheets in, which if you haven't used Tableau before is that simple. Adjusted the width and made a few other adjustments. Additionally, I added some actions to allow users a little bit more control. So one of the actions I created is called Candidate Highlight, and that says if you click on a candidate on any sheet at all, then it will highlight that candidate across the board. So as you can see, Trump is highlighted across the board. Additionally, I added another action that allows you to look at the various accounts over time. Over the course of the dashboard, I mean. And so anytime you click on candidate percent tweets, which is this one here, or tweets candidate time, which is our time series, then it will highlight that account on on all three of these sheets, the time series, the polarity, and the percent tweets. So now you can see if you click on Fox News, it's going to highlight their contributions across the board. So you can see their contributions per candidate in comparison to themselves, and you can see their distribution here. And that is our dashboard. I hope that this was a worthwhile training for you. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. My email address is caandrews@tableau.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter @datarulesme. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. Thanks so much for attending, and happy visiting.